This feels like a team that shouldn't be 1-2, but just can't seem to get over that little speed bump.
I feel like they just beat themselves.
I think it's about time that maybe they need to move on from Travis Kelce.
The Steelers don't really move me. Aaron Rodgers really doesn't move me at the age of 41.
Hello and welcome to Ain't That Our Ball, our weekly preview show taking a look at some of the best matchups ahead of Week 4. Today we're going to take a trip across the pond for the Dublin matchup between the Steelers and Vikings. We'll break down the homecoming for Micah Parsons as the Cowboys host the Packers, and we'll take a look at the game between shock 1-2 teams, the Baltimore Ravens and Kansas City Chiefs. I'm David Scott. Alongside me is NFL expert Ryan Sanudo. Ryan, how's it going today?
Very good. We got a great Week 4 slate. Glad to get things going.
All right, so let's kick things off with the Dublin game. First time going over there, Steelers, Vikings, two pretty good teams, still some things to prove. Let's talk about the atmosphere to start. New stadium for these teams to play in, but I think it's going to be kind of familiar for the Steelers.
Steelers have so much ties with, Irish community, the Gaelic community. Art Rooney, he has family roots there, so there's going to be so many Steelers fans. It's a Steelers home game, technically, so you're going to be seeing a lot of Steelers fans, and this place holds 82,000 people. I mean, the energy is going to be there, the sound levels are going to be there, and you're just going to see so much Irish heritage at this game, and like you said, this is the first ever game in Dublin, and I just think the feel is just going to be so great for this game. And, these two teams, they have a lot to prove still. Carson Wentz, we'll get it to him, but there's still two teams that we don't really know who they are, even though they're 2-1.
Yeah, so let's go in on Carson Wentz. He's filling in for the injured J.J. McCarthy. Carson Wentz has become a journeyman. There was a point in time where he was supposed to be an MVP. That huge injury derailed his career. Got a good win last week. Surely it wasn't all that much on him. The defense went crazy. But he did a good job controlling the offense and helping the team stay in front for a win. Talk about Carson Wentz, what he can do for this team, and how he's going to get the Vikings over the Steelers.
Well, plenty of years ago, he was the starting quarterback for the Eagles. He could have been an MVP, winner if it wasn't for that, season-ending injury. He was with the Chiefs last year, so he knows what it takes to win. Patrick Mahomes, he played under. So he's a game manager. Kevin O'Connell knows how to get the quarterbacks to throw quick, get them off platform in the offense. And he's getting back Jordan Addison now. So you have Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, the run game, with Jordan Mason, because now Jordan Mason is, the starting running back for them now. So Carson Wentz just has to throw those easy passes, easy throws. And it will be tough, though, because the Steelers' defense does have T.J. Watt. Sure, the first two games looked bad for the Steelers' defense, but, T.J. Watt had 2 sacks last week. So that could cause fits for Wentz, but last week he has to look at that tape and try to do that again.
And on the other side of it, Aaron Rodgers for the Steelers, it's so start for him. The first game against the Jets, he looks really good amount of passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Then he goes against the Seahawks, not a great game, a couple ugly interceptions, just can't get anything going there. And then the Patriots, it was just kind of a slugfest of turnovers. No one looked good there. I thought Rodgers didn't look great at all. How is he going to flip that switch against the Vikings?
Not going to be easy because the Vikings defense has only allowed 2 passing touchdowns in the first 3 games. This is a very big test, and when he's under duress, bad things happen to Rodgers. So I think this is going to be a very defensive game. And Rodgers, he didn't look that great. I mean, there were a couple throws he made that were well, but he threw a terrible interception to the Patriots. And the Patriots, they lost the game, but they had 160-plus more yards than the Steelers. So the Steelers don't really move me. Aaron Rodgers really doesn't move me at the age of 41. He's really going to have to, take things to another level for them to win this game. And the Vikings defense, Brian Flores, they love to pass rush. Bad things could happen to Rodgers and company. And that run game, that run game can be terrible too.
That Steelers run game is just awful this year. They lost Najee Harris. They let him walk. Jalen Warren is their number 1 guy, I guess. Kenneth Gainwell's in there, and the rookie Caleb Johnson's gotten no play. They're not going to get anything going against that Vikings defense that had 2 defensive touchdowns last week. It could be a blowout from the Vikings. It very possibly could be, especially with how their passing defense has been. I don't see Rodgers getting anything. Maybe the crowd gets into it, and that could totally be a game changer with 80-plus thousand fans, most of them Steelers fans. But at the same time, we've seen what the Vikings defense has brought to play so far, and it's a lot better than what the Steelers offense has been.
I think it's going to be close. You said blowout. I think it's going to be close. But for the Vikings, they just have to, limit. They can't turn the ball over. And same thing goes to the Steelers. And the Steelers, they capitalized on the Patriots, bad decision making, the fumbles. They can't let that happen. They can't rely on the other team with the turnovers because the Vikings love to keep the ball. They love to, keep going down the field. So I expect a closer game, but I think the Vikings pull away with a victory.
All right, so let's move on to our next matchup, Packers-Cowboys, perhaps the biggest storyline of the weekend, maybe the year so far. It's homecoming for Micah Parsons, who has been a game wrecker so far this year. And the Cowboys defense has been sorely missing a presence like Micah Parsons on their line.
I think that was short-sighted trading him before the season. I thought they should have obviously given him a contract. But yeah, this is a revenge game for Parsons, and I expect, him to put a lot of pressure on that offensive line. And he's been getting double teamed the second most in the league. Obviously, Myles Garrett, he's a monster. He's getting double teamed left and right. And then it's this guy. It's just so tough to guard Parsons that you need two guys, and then other guys feast. So he's only had a sack and a half the first 3 games, but man, I expect 1 or 2 sacks minimum when it comes to that offensive line for the Cowboys, who, are losing some guys on the offensive line. And it's not going to be pretty when there's guys that aren't open downfield because CeeDee Lamb is not on the field because he's hurt. So Parsons, I expect him to put, a lot of energy into this game and really set the tone.
Well, it's worth noting that last week, the Packers had a pretty big upset loss to the Browns. They only managed 10 points. It was a walk-off field goal from the Browns. That's not good. You're probably not going to see that again this week, but when you think about how they played against the Browns, are they going to bring that same kind of competition against the Cowboys? Are they going to turn things up? Of course, they've got Parsons in his revenge game, so I think that can spark some energy back into the team. And I would say the Browns definitely have a much better defense than the Cowboys do.
Oh, this is a bounce back spot. The Packers, they obviously got surprised with the result. They're playing the Cowboys defense. The Cowboys defense is one of the worst in the league. They can't play against the run. They can't play against the pass. Yes, they're getting guys back, Clowney, etc. I think Bland might be playing. But this doesn't look good. The Packers are, in it to, really put the damper on that Cowboys defense, just like the playoffs last year. The Packers, they have that capability of just, blowing you out. And I think they can do that too. Matthew Golden, I expect him to be explosive in this game. The run game, Josh Jacobs, he might get like 130, 140 rushing yards in this game. And, Jordan Love had he was inconsistent, obviously, the terrible interception against the Browns, but I expect him to be smart with the football. And that was Jordan Love from old. I think you're going to get a better Jordan Love in this game.
Well, let's look at the Cowboys side of things. Their offense struggling a bit. They're pass-heavy. Javonte Williams has been a nice breakout this year, but they're going to be a pass-heavy team, even without CeeDee Lamb on the field. It's going to come down to George Pickens a lot against a pretty good Packers defense. Dak Prescott's going to have to get the ball out quick because he's going to have his old teammate coming down his neck. How are the Cowboys going to counter this defense, or is it just impossible for them?
It might be close to impossible. This Packers defense is arguably the best in the league. And obviously it was the Browns last week, but they made the Lions look like a bad team in week 1, and you saw what the Lions did last week. So the Packers defense is legit with Parsons now. It even was still good without Parsons. And what the Cowboys have to do, they have to get Jake Ferguson involved. Obviously, Pickens is your number one. But if Pickens isn't, if he's not getting open because of that Packers defense and Prescott is getting pressure, man, it's going to be tough. They're going to have to do quick passes. Jake Ferguson, like I said, the run game might not even be a factor if they're already down. They have to, keep throwing the football. So it's not going to be easy. They got to get other guys involved, Turpin, Tolbert, but I just don't like it because with CeeDee Lamb, I'm like, okay, they can maybe make it close without him. I think it might be lights out for Dallas and company.
Yeah, you haven't seen much versatility from the Dallas offense. Even when they go down, it doesn't seem like they mix things up. It happened against the Eagles. It's just, they're in a rough spot with just the talent that they have and the injuries that they're facing. It's hard to put them up against the Packers and give them any sort of chance. Of course, we saw that the Browns won last week, so there's never no chance. But you said it's a big bounce back spot for the Packers. This is a get-right game. Offense, get it back on track. Defense was fine last week. It's going to stay fine. I see no issues for the Packers here.
And honestly, they love to use Brandon Aubrey, their kicker. When you're down a couple touchdowns, that's not going to really work out for you. I feel like Brandon Aubrey is that guy to use, 70 yards away. When you're down a couple touchdowns, he's not going to be a factor, and you want Aubrey to always be a factor in a game. I think the Cowboys, when it comes to primetime games, they can either win by a lot or lose by a lot. I think they're going to lose by a lot in this game.
Well, let's move on to our last matchup. The two shock 1-2 teams, Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens. No one could have seen this coming. Your Super Bowl runner-ups last year and the perennial contenders and the Ravens. Patrick Mahomes has not gotten it going so far this year. Lamar Jackson's been just fine, but that Ravens defense looks terrible. Let's start with the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes maybe getting Xavier Worthy back this week. Still no Rashee Rice. That offense is really going to have to step up against the Ravens defense that should be good, but we just haven't seen it yet.
I think they got to get Travis Kelce involved. I know he's obviously looked terrible here and there, but the Ravens are so bad defensively. They've been so bad against tight ends. Obviously, Worthy's might be coming back, but they don't really have anyone else other than him. Thornton, looks pretty good at times, but he could have caught a pass before that touchdown, and he didn't. They have to get guys involved. I think Travis Kelce has to get involved. I feel like this is a point in his career. Obviously, might be his last season. And if he can't get it right in this game, he might be cooked. We already think he's close to being cooked. This Ravens defense it's on a silver platter. You got to get things done against this defense. And Mahomes, he has to be vintage, obviously. He has to run away from pressure, and he's their best running back, basically, on this team.
So far, yeah.
So far, Pacheco's been a disaster.
Awful.
Kareem Hunt, I don't even know why they brought him back. So I feel like Mahomes has to be vintage, and same thing goes for Travis Kelce. And I know you got Worthy coming back, but, you can't expect too much after that, the injury that he got in week 1. I feel like they're going to limit his snaps a little bit, so Kelce, he's got to figure it out.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about Kelce so much just because we keep waiting and expecting him to come back to form. It might be about time that we just stop expecting it. He's in his late 30s. He does not have the same step that he had. He's having temper tantrums on the sideline.
Oh, God. Every week it happens.
It's just, I think it's about time that maybe we need to move on from Travis Kelce. Noah Gray's a good tight end. We've seen it before. He might start getting some more traction in the Chiefs' offense because they need someone in that tight end position. The tight end position has been such a key part of their offense for so long, and with no performance there, they're really struggling on the offense.
Like you said, I think Noah Gray should be getting more playing time. Kelce, again, he has to make things happen the first couple drives, or it could be, the end of, his career in a way. You might just see his snaps, deteriorate. And then you're left with no Kelce and Noah Gray is on the field.
The Ravens on the other side, their offense is doing just fine. Lamar Jackson is another MVP year coming, probably. Should have been one last year. We can debate that later. The thing is the defense and also the turnovers, but they're not coming from Lamar. They're coming from Derrick Henry, who just cannot seem to hold on to the football. Just a lot of key errors where they should be cleaning things up. They were in that game against the Lions until the end when those late fourth quarter turnovers happened. This feels like a team that shouldn't be 1-2, but just can't seem to get over that little speed bump.
Definitely. And Derrick Henry, it's been very weird with him. Obviously 3 fumbles in 3 games. He even said, he told reporters that he's actually questioning his faith when it comes to football. So that was a very odd comment. So you could just tell that it's a little bit of a mental thing with Derrick Henry. He's not used to this. I think there was a stat 3 fumbles in 600 plus rushing attempts, and now you got 3 fumbles in 3 games. So I think it's a mental thing with Derrick Henry. The turnovers are an issue. Obviously, it's never an issue for Lamar Jackson. But if they just clean that up, they could have easily won against the Lions, and you can't do that against a Lions team. Now with the Chiefs have a really good defense still. I mean, people always forget about this Chiefs defense. They keep them in games. So it's going to be tough for the Ravens here and there, but I expect things to just be all systems go. Get the football to Zay Flowers, get him open. They like to do man coverage, so that's what they have to do. They just have to forget about everything and just focus on this Sunday.
I think, as we said with the Packers against the Cowboys being a get-right game, it sounds weird, but I think this could be a get-right game for the Ravens. Get back to the basics, hold on to the football, be smart with the football. It's a good defense, so you're going to have some more struggles getting down the field. But I think that the Ravens' offense is good enough, we've seen it before, that they should have no trouble against the defense, just getting their points and then getting on defense and saying, all right, let's just contain Patrick Mahomes, get our offense back on the field. Vegas has this as a tight game. I think it was 2.5 points last time I checked. I think the Ravens have a chance to not run away with this game, but keep it comfortably in their favor. I think they could have a touchdown lead a good way through if they just establish their presence early, contain Xavier Worthy if he's back. If he's not back, Travis Kelce, contain him. Just get a good contain around Patrick Mahomes because he keeps using his legs. The defense for the Ravens hasn't been good this year. They know that they can be better. They need to raise to the level of their offense because it can't be this lopsided. You can't be a Super Bowl contender with a great offense and an awful defense. Get it evened out. Do it against the Chiefs. Show the rest of the NFL, hey, we're still a good Ravens team. We just beat the Super Bowl runner-ups. And then get on with your season and get back into the playoffs. Because you can't be 1-2. You just can't be 1-2.
You can't be 1-2. I feel like they just beat themselves, the Ravens. So as long as you don't do that, I think things should work out for them. I expect them to win. And like you said, I think they have to get things right early, And Mark Andrews even got involved last game. Get him involved. Bateman here and there. And Zay Flowers is your number one guy. He was absent against the Lions. So I feel like that should be a focal point with Lamar and Flowers. And Derrick Henry, as much as those fumbles are an issue, he should find ways because he can just burst. All of a sudden, he's got that hole and boom, he's gone. It's gone to the races. So I expect him to be fine. But then it's just weird with him, with the mental issues. I feel like he could fumble again.
He could.
It very well could. So, but as long as he, forgets, the past and focuses on the present, they should find a way. And they just beat themselves. The Ravens just do that. So, the Chiefs, they love to be opportunistic. The Ravens, they have to just, get things, up and running on that offense.
That does it for this week's edition of Ain't That Our Ball. Be sure to tune in every Thursday and also catch our tactical review show X's and O's on Mondays. Please leave a like on this video, subscribe to our channel, and let us know how worried you are about the Kansas City Chiefs in the comments.